Hi, this is Ane. We're back again in the metal workshop with Fabian. And Fabian, what are we going to do today?
Today we're going to continue working on our rusted battle war merchant, and this time we're going to work on the plate armor. So we got some arm protection, and we got a Merc light armor that we're going to rough up. And again, we're just going to start off with cleaning it off, rough it up a bit, add some rust effect, and hopefully end up with a cool look in the end.
Sounds exciting.
Yep.
Now we're ready to get started on the plate armor. With me, I've already prepared that we have already for battle arm guards, a set of those, and the Merc light armor. First part we're going to do now is get over to the cleaning bench and get it cleaned off nice and sweet, so we don't have all the oil on it. But by doing so, and by rusting it up and painting on it, and roughing it up and all the bashing, we are avoiding the warranty. You should be aware of this before it starts, that this will ruin the warranty. Yes, that's the word. So now it's been said. But well, let's get to it. So now we are here at the cleaning table, and this time, well, same procedure as before. We're gonna scrub it down with some brake cleaning agent, and it's gonna be nice and easy. Of course, you can still use the soap water to get rid of all the oil. The important part is just to get it nice and clean and oil free, because else nothing will stick to it. Oh yeah, also important note, if you're using this, make sure you don't have any open fire anywhere near you, because shake it nice and well. And start from the top and go down, because it wants to slide off. So if you start from the top, you don't have to do double work. And again, from top and down, so all the oil has gone away, dripping off. This chemicals in this one kind of liquefies the oil and makes it more slippery, so it kind of just slides off. So if you have places with a crevice or something, and you have it like this, then the oil will gather in the crevice instead of sliding off. So you kind of want to think of it like making water wash off it. And again, same procedure with these. Start from the top and work your way down. And I'm out of this one.
So now we're back with the breastplate. We just cleaned it, and it's ready for some roughness. So to rough it up, there's a shit ton of ways to do this. You can kick it around, you can bash it with tools, or whatever rocks your boat. I have a few tools with me here. I have an iron bar, it's really good for giving nice dents into it. A few hammers, because well, they're just good at what they do, bashing stuff. We got a file, so we can scratch into it. It's one of those half round files. So it has a nice sharp edge on one end. It's gonna give some good cut. We have this hardened steel wire brush, which is really good for roughing up the leather and stuff like that. And of course we have an axe to axe cuts and make some axe dents into it. And if all these tools are too fancy for you, we of course have the beautification rock, which is a very simple thing. You take rock, you bash things pretty. So first things first, you want to figure out where do you want the dents to be, because maybe you just want it randomly everywhere, or maybe you want it more stylized and in a specific way you want it kind of dented. And for this one, I feel like there should be a good amount of different cuts here and some bashings, like it's been used and not been taken too care of, but it's not destroyed. So make a plan, and then you're ready to the next step. A good thing you can do is take a piece of wood or something similar, because when you want to dent it, if you just dent it like this, bam, then it's gonna get really deformed, and maybe in a really bad way. But if you take a piece of wood or something soft in a similar way and put underneath, then you're more in a control of where the dents are and how deep they go. Because if you dent it without this, it's hollow and it just all caves in. So what you want to do is you want to find a soft anvil, so to say. So I'm going to start with an axe. Figure out, okay, we want some cuts around the neck piece here. when you're happy with the result, like sometimes just, make a few bashes here and there, take a step back and just look at it, like get a good overview of, okay, this is what it looks like now. What's the next step? I don't know. Let's take this one and see what happens. Let's dent the shit out of it with an iron rod. Each tool you have and beat it will give it a different look and a different style. So, the thing you can do is find some scrap metal and just practice on that one until you figure out, okay, this is the kind of dents I want. Like in here, we try with the file, just scratch it good so it's, get some nice deep cuts into it. Don't worry too much about it, like, it can be very stylized with some of these cuts. Almost cartoony if you're good at it. It really depends on what style you're into. Just like do it till it feels right, like okay. Now we're pretty much done. Like there's some good scratches here and there. This area feels a bit unused. Just cover it over. And they don't have to be very deep because I will show you this later. Why? That's just enough that it just slightly dents down. And now, well, let's just take the hammer for good measure. If you have an old hammer, it might have like a very rough surface. That will also leave some texture on your piece, and that just, adds to it. Careful not to beat it too hard, because then you will dent your armor out of shape, and it might be hard to put back on, but you can always bash it back in if you want. See? And now it's time for the good one, the beautification rock. We just find a good, stable place to put it, and then you just like it should be known there's like not a right and a wrong way to do it. As long as it works, well, it kind of just works. This is getting really roughed up now. As you can see, this one leaves a lot of small dents all over the place. And that's because of all the, fancy spike rocks inside. It will give you a nice dented look, like you've been falling in gravel and stuff like that. And now we're getting close to a result we like. Just gonna tighten something, like these are screwed on so they might get loose when you start bashing it too much. So you can always, tighten them back up again. But yeah, once you finally get to like a point where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to like this look, get a feel on it, okay, I've beaten it a bit much so it's a bit wide. And luckily, these are LARP armor, so they are, shapeable, so you can make it fit you. And since I'm pretty strong, you just squeeze it till it fits in a nice way. Like, this is nice. And then you just squeeze it no more. Then you kind of just brush off whatever dust and stuff there may be. Get an overview of it, and ta-da! Bashed up armor. Of course, we also have some leather on this armor. There's not only metal, and you want to equally rough this up so it gives a complete look rather than just having a bashed up place with fancy ass new leather, because that's just, it looks incomplete in a way. So what you can do is you can take this scruffy and then you can like just slowly just rip and tear the leather a bit, but don't be too greedy or too aggressive about it, because you still want the functionality of the leather, so you don't want to damage it. You kind of just want to scratch it so it's only surface wise. Another thing you can do as well, besides scratching it like this, is you can take the beautification rock and just beat the crap out of it. The beautiful thing about the rock, depending on what type of rock is, it has a lot of texture, and if you beat it onto the leather, this will like leave the texture in the leather and give it a nice rocked look. Making sure it doesn't look new. It doesn't have to be much, just, just enough is enough.
I don't recommend adding cuts into the leather, even though it looks cool, because it will weaken it a lot, and then you might risk it falling off while you're out LARPing and having a good time, and that's terrible. Again, texture rock. And of course, do not forget the ones on your armor.
Here have the battle damaged version, and now we just want to add some paint and some grime to it because it looks a little too clean right now. So I'm going to start by using this lovely product, which is like a tar-based sort of paint, and the effect I want to achieve here right now is to get some shade and grime into it. But instead of just using a black paint, I prefer to use this one because it's like a really, really dark brown rather than just black that can be a little too flat in the shading, so to say. So what I'm going to do is figure out where are the good places to get it and just take it in areas at the time. So first I'm going to focus here, then I'm going to focus here and where I feel like I need it. So let's get started. And here you can see all these extra dark rifts. That's where we ran the file through, and because it just like makes a small, thin, deep groove, the paint sticks really well into that and really brings it out. There we are. Now we have like a base oiled down version of it. This also acts as a rust protection, as a bonus. Now we have this based up version, but I kind of want more of it in some places specific, and that's where I can, you know, fill a cup, just a few squeezes. Then you take like a brush and just like dip it, and then you just like work around the rivets, for example, to help bring them out more, because it can be kind of hard to do that with a full spray. So then you want to be a bit more specific with this. Find a pencil and just paint up all the rivets, and don't be afraid to get it dirty. You can always wash it off again. There we are. Take it up, get a look about it. Like, are you happy with the look? Maybe, maybe not. You can always, you know. Oh, and like sometimes you can like, oh, I would want this to be more visible. Then you can just, then you don't, if you want, for example, if you want this to be more visible, this dent, then you can just gently take the file, even after you did this, no problem, and just scratch it up inside there. Then you just take some more of the paint and fill it up good. Then of course, same procedure as before, wipe it off. Just be careful, like when you apply a new layer, it will kind of dissolve the previous, because there's still dissolvents in the paint. And then you go to have something like this. Now, something that could be really cool to have is maybe have it look like it's dripping somewhere. Then you can use turpentine, and just very carefully just get a very tiny bit on the pencil, and then kind of just dip it around. As you can see how it just dissolves and then just drips down like this. If there's areas where you want to re-clean it off again, you can still take the same thing with the turpentine and just dip it a little, and then it comes right off. So you can refill and repaint if you think, oh, too much here, too little here. Like, I think this area should have some of it removed a bit more. And you don't need a lot, you need like just enough. Just be very careful that you don't get like too clean spots. So you still want to dab it a bit, maybe get one of the older dirty ones and reapply it a bit. And then it's simply just continue until you're happy with the result. There's a lot of back and forth and trying out what works and what doesn't work. Does it feel right to you and all that? But I'd say with this, I'm pretty happy with the ground result. And now we're just gonna add some light rust effect to it. But first we're gonna let it dry a bit, so it's ready for that. So now the armor has had some time to dry a bit. Everything is more or less set up, and we can continue with the next step,
which is add a little rust effect to it. And for that, I got some clear coat with a matte finish. You want to go with matte and not gloss finish, because gloss will make it shine like hell. And that's not what we're going for. We're going for like a grim, dark, matte look. So we got this, and then we got some pigment. It can be anything. It can be like real iron that you ground down to rust particles. Paint pigment that you can buy in various colors. What I did was I got a good dark brown and a bright orange. So what I'm going to do first, step by step, is I'm going to figure out where would rust collect on this one. And like in all the creases here, that's where it wouldn't get brushed off from everyday wear. So that's what we're aiming for, where you can't brush it off, so to say. So we're gonna start with in here under this iron bar and fill in there. So it just doesn't have to be much, just enough. And take this, and you gently take your brush, and then you kind of just dab it in there. And don't be too afraid to have too much on. You can always remove it again. Just. And then you can like just clean it off, and then wipe it again, good. And then you can take the piece of fabric and just go with all the hard lines where you did it, clean them up, because elsewhere it will get brushed off. And then, of course, one final spray on, just to seal it in. And then for good measure, you can just add a little more, but that way it gets stick in the outer layer, but you're not too afraid that it will be brushed off, because there's still a layer underneath. Then, from a distance, you get nice rusty spots in the small crevices compared to the other side here. And now you just use this technique to fill in where you believe you want there to be some more rust. I can highly just recommend looking at old rusty stuff. Also, like, look at old rusty stuff that gets used a lot, just to get like a feeling of where would the rust gather and collect itself. We also have this back piece here of the leather, and we already roughed it up, but it still looks a bit too new, so we want to give it some more depth with some more color as well. And for that, I have like this huge bucket of shoe polish shine in black. So you're just gonna not much, just a little, and then you just kind of rub it into the edge of the leather. You don't want to just rub everything in, because then it just still becomes a bit uniform. But if you just rub it across the leather at the edge, just enough for it to rub off. Kind of get it in there. Kind of, see here, yep. Dirtify it. Also, like, takes good care of your leather as well. So it's like win-win. You can get this without color and the one with black. I'd recommend using the black one because, well, it adds more depth to it. It becomes more than one color, and I mean, one color is boring, two is okay, but three colors is awesome. But here we're just gonna settle with two. Two is okay. See, now we have some everywhere, and then you can just, like, if you have some gloves on or something, just start rubbing it around, and you see how the leather becomes darker, the places where we scratched it, so it doesn't look so new and fancy anymore. downside is, of course, it's a lot more shiny, but when it dries out again, it'll get back to its regular nice look, depending on what you want, of course. I mean, I kind of like this look as well. Looks so fresh. And then that's how you get some nice ledge.
So now we're back here again. I managed to find Ane. She's been busy with weathering some clothing. And now we're just gonna show you like a few variants of rust. Like you can almost like, which one of this is real rust and which is not. And well, we're just gonna tell you because you can't, it's a video, you can't talk to us. So.
Can I guess?
Yes, you can guess because we can talk.
So I think this one is real rust.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
No.
No.
This is horribly wrong. This one is the least rust.
Oh.
So, the one with the real rust is this one over here. This was a project where we were going to make some post-apocalyptic outfits some time ago. And what happened was, we set this one up to become slightly rusted, much in style with this. So we gave it some salt water and vinegar cleanup and then put it in a bag. Then we put it outside just to make sure, you know, the weather and all that. And then we forgot about it. So it's been like in a bag for 2, maybe 3 months, just like living in salt water. And it makes it very rusty, I can see. I mean, it's like dripping rust. That's not bad because then you can like harvest the rust as pigment and use for other things. So I mean, it still has positive sides. But no, this one is actually just painted on. This is made by taking a sand spattle and outdoor wood glue and mixing together with brown paint to work as a base. And then it's like been dipped onto it to give this nice texture because of the grain and the sand, and makes it look like very thick and heavy rust that sits on it. And then after that, we just added more pigment to get the bright orange spots out of it so it looks more real. Because as you can notice on real rust, it's not just one color, it's like a whole spectrum of brown and orange. So when you paint rust, remember it's more than just brown. It's brown and orange. So this is the kind of results you can get with this. Again, the chainmail here, it's made with the salt water effect, where we actively rust the material itself. This one is pure paint and pigment, as long as with this one. Over here we have like a nice helmet as well, made by the one and only Tim Valimar. And it's a mixture of paint and then added iron powder, so it's painted on real rust, so to say, that's been activated to give it this nice look and in the crevices as well. And of course, it's been used a lot, so there's also natural rust on it, and it only gets more awesome with time. So this is some cool things you can do when you want to make your things more battle worn.
I have a question for you.
Yes?
If you use real rust, like with salt water like this one, is it gonna ruin the metal long term?
Long term, probably yes.
Yeah.
But we're talking really long term. I mean, if you just give it the small amounts we have done, we're talking years before it becomes a problem. Like this one again, it's still like a functional. If you take this one and polishing up, you still have a nice helmet.
Yeah.
And that one was left in salt water for like 2 months, and it's still, you know, functional in a way. So you need a lot of rust before it gets like real damage from it. Of course, if you keep bombarding it with salt water and acids, yes, it will dry out. But in these amounts that we do it here, it's more like a surface finish rather than anything else.
So what would you say was the pros and cons?
Well,
with real rust?
Well, the pros is it looks like real rust because, well, it is.
Yes.
The cons is it can get a bit dirty sometimes because the rust can flake off and, you know, make a mess. And again, if you're not careful, it can keep rusting, but it's like we're talking years before it's a problem. Depending on the environment you live in. If you're like in a very wet, rainy and salty environment, yes, then it will go faster. Unlike if you're like in a dry, nice environment, then it will take forever for it to rust properly.
Thank you.
Yeah. No
Sounds
problem.
like you're a real expert in rust.
Yes. It's not my rusty side anymore.